you for joining us on YourStocks. It's turning out to be a slightly choppy session now for the market, and we'll get you all the details in just a bit. But first up, Nasscom has trimmed its FY16-17 growth outlook to a range of 10 to 12% in constant currency terms. Let's go across to CNBCTV18's Prerna Barua, who's in conversation with R. Chandrasekhar, President, Nasscom, and C.P. Gurnani, MD and CEO at Tech Mahindra.
Of your guidance of about 12 to 14%, what are the factors that largely, what are the issues relating to a slower growth in that sense?
I think the important point is that the growth is well within the band that we had indicated. There have been a lot of uncertainties in the global economy, different shifts economically, politically, and demographically, all of which have had impact on the tech spending. The actual tech spending also has been impacted in some of the countries. So the net result of all of these trends is that notwithstanding these fluctuations, the industry has still been able to achieve the performance within the band that was indicated.
I think, Prerna, when you look at it very differently, that we live in a connected world, that a year ago what was an oil price and what is an oil price today. If you look at commodities, if you look at some of the geopolitical challenges, if you look at some of the social challenges, I would like to say is that being within that band and, industry growing at 12.3%, I think is commendable. In a lot of ways, I would also say is the contribution of the new age companies, the contribution of the digital economy, the contribution of the startups, I think has helped. So there were a lot of headwinds, but there were tailwinds, which is the new age companies.
Sir, though it is growing in the double digits, but for FY17 as well, the guidance is at about 10 to 11%, which is much lower, 10 to 12%, which is much lower than FY16 as well. So, for this, at the same time, for 2 years, it has been lowered.
It's not, if you look at the numbers, in the current year, where we had predicted 12 to 14% growth, the actual growth has been 12.3% in constant currency terms and 10.3% in reported dollars. That is across the entire industry, all segments of the industry. At the time when we make a projection, there is no difference between the dollar and the constant currency because we are at this point looking at all of it in dollar terms. So as against the 10.3% in reported dollar terms, we are saying that the growth in the year ahead would be in the range of 10 to 12%, which basically means that it would continue at the same level. And if you recall the projections that were made in the Perspective 2025 report that Nasscom and McKinsey had put together, where we had projected that the industry can aspire to grow to $25 billion by 2020 and $350 billion by 2025. There the projection was that over the next 5 years, that is the first 5 years in that 10-year period, a growth rate of an average of around 11% was what was expected. And I think we are exactly on that track and exactly on that trajectory and are well on our way to achieving those two milestones.
So while we are seeing a slump in terms of global tech spending, what could be the other factors? Also, we are seeing, patchy spends across verticals, be it energy because of lower oil prices or even telecom or the other sectors also remains patchy in terms of spending across verticals.
Yeah, at the same time, the new verticals being born, which didn't exist. Frankly, that an education would be such a big consumer of, the business, I think is clearly a new birth. Similarly, as I said, there is a lot of new spend that is happening in new product development, in engineering. So I would like to believe is that manufacturing 4.0 or an industry 4.0 ultimately is built around better utilization of compute power, better utilization of tools that can increase productivity, better involvement of efficiency and productivity tools. So there is definitely an increase in spending, except that it need not be happening only in the IT department. So I think we have to look at the portfolio of technology and overall understand that within technology, which sectors or which particular technology skills or which projects are being prioritized.
So talking about digital, sir, it is one of the biggest opportunities for companies largely at this point in time. In fact, Nasscom says that in terms of it is going to double in the coming years. So how big an opportunity does this say? In fact, you also laid a 5-point agenda saying that these challenges needs to be overcome in terms of nurturing startups to in terms of creating ecosystems for them. So what does?
See, I think what we are seeing is that while some sectors and some geographies are getting impacted, oil sector, for example, is witnessing a lower investment. You've seen in some geographies like Europe lowering of the spend. And again, within that, some segments like telecom having a lower spend. But as Mr. Gurnani was saying, a lot of the changes which are happening are necessitating the adoption of digital technologies by almost all segments, including segments which were not part of the traditional business at all. So this trend of greater and greater adoption of digital technologies in every walk of life is opening up new business opportunities. And what we are seeing clearly is a bulk of the growth will be in the digital area. And the traditional businesses may of course hold steady or be subject to all these fluctuations, but the adoption of digital will continue to provide new opportunities. For the Indian industry, therefore, it's important to prepare itself and position itself for these new opportunities in terms of skilling of the employees, in terms of a strategy for mergers and acquisitions to acquire those necessary skills or footprint in those geographies.
All right, then that was